Greetings and welcome to another Pokemon 2019 or Pokemon Journeys anime episode review. This time I'm talking about episode 115, so let's get to it. Episode 115 begins in Windon, where several Rotom drones signal the beginning of the Masters Tournament by using smoke to draw the logo of the World Coronation Series in the sky. A lot of people witness this with a smile, including Ash and Go, who are already here in Windon for the tournament. Ash then turns around to look at Windon Stadium with determination. He is clearly ready for the battles ahead. Hop then appears. He exclaims, "There he is! You're Ash from Kanto, right?" So Hop was clearly looking for Ash. Ash says, "Yeah, I am Ash. Why do you ask?" Hop says that he wants to have a battle with Ash right here and now. I love that Wooloo blows steam out of its nose. It is clearly ready to rumble and confident of its strength. Actually, given Hop's demeanor, it's clear that Wooloo is not the only one that is confident. Go whispers to Ash, "Do you think he knows that you are one of the Masters 8? Hop says, "I can hear you." Of course I already knew that. I want to test his strength. Ash exclaims that he accepts, of course, since he would never say no to a battle, and he says, "Let's go, Pikachu!" Now the episode cuts to the opening here, and I do want to mention that the opening is once again updated in this episode. Raihan and his Duraludon are replaced by Hop and his Wooloo. So even though they were just introduced, they have already been added to the opening. So the episode then resumes with Ash, Hop, and their Pokemon who are all ready to battle. Go uses his Pokedex on Wooloo. The Pokedex says that Wooloo's fleece is a very effective cushion. Wooloo can even fall off a cliff and it will be fine. Based on this, Go concludes that Wooloo must have a good defense, which can't be farther from the truth, at least when it comes to Hop's Wooloo. Now I love that Wooloo once again blows steam out of its nose. It really is ready to battle and sure of itself. So the battle begins with Ash calling for Iron Tail, while Hop calls for Double Kick. Pikachu goes in for the attack and he hits Wooloo with Iron Tail before Wooloo can land a hit. Wooloo is launched back as a result, it crashes into Hop, the two of them are knocked back and Wooloo is knocked out. Yeah, that's it for Wooloo. One attack is all it took. Ash, Pikachu, and Go are all left looking like Ditto, which is hilarious. They are all very shocked. Go even says, "Wait, is that it?" Now I went into this episode expecting that this battle would be short and unexciting, but fun. However, I did not think that it would be this short and unexciting. Also, it was not really a fun battle like I expected. Unless you consider that giving me a good chuckle because of these funny expressions means that the battle was fun. So even with low expectations, they somehow managed to still disappoint me. I do want to say that while it is funny that Hop was owned so quickly, it is also awful. Because after so long, Hop is finally introduced to the anime and he is immediately turned into an absolute joke. Which is just such a waste and rather outrageous when you consider that in Pokemon Sword and Shield, Hop is one of the rivals and he is quite competent, since he manages to defeat all the gyms. He battles in the Champion Cup multiple times, he ends up catching Sassian or Samacenta, and he takes part in the Galarian Star Tournament. So in the games, he is definitely not at the level of being defeated in one hit. Therefore, the anime discredits Hop completely by turning him into a punchline. And it also wastes his potential completely, because he could have been such a great rival for Ash, since Hop's goal is the same as Ash's, to defeat Leon. So there would have been such a good dynamic between them as they both battle each other in order to reach Leon, only to have Ash defeat Hop after a hard-fought battle, advancing closer towards his goal in the process, while leaving Hop behind. Heck, Hop could have even made it into the Masterclass, where he could have had one final battle with Ash, to ultimately decide who faces Leon. This would have been such a personal battle, and one that would have mirrored the final rival battle in every previous league conference. But sadly, they decided to instead squander Hop by turning him into a laughingstock. So Hop says that Ash really is strong, and that he can see why his big brother has his eyes on Ash. Ash wonders about this big brother. Hop introduces himself and he reveals that he is Leon's little brother. This shocks Ash and Go. Ash then excitedly exclaims, "Leon talks about me?" Don't know why, but that makes me really happy. I don't know why he says he does not know why this makes him happy. Of course he is happy, because Leon, the unbeatable champion he admires so much, talks about him. Hop then says that he will be the one who defeats Leon, and that Leon will remain undefeated until then. Yeah, well, for this scenario to play out, then Leon will have to remain undefeated until he is as old as mustard, if the battle you just had is any indication of your skill level. Also, this is the kind of thing that would have been great to hear if Hop was Ash's rival. The episode then cuts to Team Rocket, who are also here for the tournament. They are hosting their radio show live while in disguise, and they use modified versions of the nicknames they normally use for their show. They say that they will be showcasing all the battles. They then end the broadcast and they reveal that covering the tournament is just a cover story. What they really want to do is catch all the stronger Pokemon. The episode then cuts to Ash, who happily makes his way to the locker room of the stadium. Iris, who is also joyfully making her way to the locker room, soon appears. She says that Ash is cutting it close, meaning that it's almost at the appointed time. She is of course cutting it close herself. Ash is surprised to see Iris. He then says we both made it into the Masters 8. Iris says yes and that she has been looking forward to seeing Ash today. Ash then says me too, and since I got this far, he and Iris then burst into the locker room exclaiming, "I will win." However, their enthusiasm is cut short when they see the rest of the Masters 8 who are all here waiting for the moment of truth. Carelessly exclaiming you will win in front of all these amazing trainers would definitely dial down your energy and make you reconsider your actions. The tension here is palpable. The episode then cuts to the battlefield where everyone eagerly awaits the start of the tournament. Hop soon approaches Go. He greets Go and he says, "Can I sit next to you?" Go says yes and he introduces himself. Hop smiles and he says, "Let's make some noise." We then see that Team Rocket are here getting ready to watch the tournament and to stream it as well. The spotlights then shine on the logo of the World Coronation Series in preparation for the introduction and appearance of the Masters 8. Now the seat next to the announcer is empty, so no commentator this time, which makes sense, because in the previous battles, said commentator was Leon, who is of course unavailable now. It is a shame though that they did not have someone like Raihan be the commentator for the tournament. So it's finally time to introduce the Masters 8. The announcer introduces all of them in order from rank 8 to rank 1. He also mentions their name and the title. So first is the shining first champion of the Alola region's first ever Pokemon League. Hailing from Pallet Town in Kanto, competitor Ash. Upon making his entrance, Ash greets everyone and he says, "Let's do this." Next up, aiming to be a Dragon Master and still growing ever stronger, the young champion of the Unova region, competitor Iris. Upon making her entrance, Iris thanks everyone. She then adorably smiles at Ash, who smiles back. Next up, an adventurer renowned for excavating Megastones. Winner of the Kalos League Lumiose Conference, competitor Alain. Upon making his entrance, Alain raises his fist like he is announcing that he shall emerge victorious. Oh Alain, if only you knew what fate has in store for you. Alain then turns to Ash, who nods. In response, Alain seems to nod as well, though he closes his eyes and he turns away. Kind of cold, especially since they have not seen each other in a while, though I understand that this is not the moment for pleasantries. Still, it is a shame that they don't interact more. Next up, a world-renowned actress enters the stage, just as skilled in battle as on camera. She is the champion of Kalos, competitor Diantha. Upon making her entrance, Diantha fittingly does what an actress would do when receiving a standing ovation. Next up, the new champion of Kanto and Johto. One of the Pokemon G-Men fighting evil far and near. Competitor Lance. Upon making his entrance, Lance just stands there looking really cool, with his arms crossed under his cape. He then uncrosses his arms and he reveals them while pushing his cape back. What a badass. Lance is just way too cool. Now it is worth noting that when Lance was introduced to the anime back in the Johto arc, he was the champion of the Indigo Plateau. But when he appeared in episode 12 of Pokemon Journeys, he was referred to as an Elite Four member, suggesting that he lost the title of champion at some point. But then in episode 109 of Pokemon Journeys, when he was introduced as one of the members of the Masters 8, he was referred to as the champion of both Kanto and Johto, suggesting that he became a champion again. I did joke that they just can't decide what Lance's position is. Here in episode 115, the announcer introduces Lance as the new champion of Kanto and Johto, revealing that yes, he became champion again recently. Next up, the heir of Hoenn Devon Corporation and champion of Hoenn, competitor Steven. Upon making his entrance, Steven bows like the elegant gentleman he is. Next up, the authority on Pokemon archaeology and champion of Sinnoh, competitor Cynthia. Upon making her entrance, Cynthia just waves at the audience. This is disappointing because I wanted her to do something with more flair, but considering how humble and modest Cynthia is, doing this suits her quite well. So last but not least, we have the champion of Galar and the reigning monarch of the Pokemon World Coronation Series, the world's strongest, the unbeaten competitor Leon. Upon making his entrance, Leon predictably does his classic pose. I have to say that I love this entire segment. It is just so amazing to see these 8 awesome trainers be introduced by name and the title, while they are raced one by one onto the logo of the World Coronation Series. We then get to see them all pose or greet the audience or do something cool. I really cannot express just how exciting this moment was for me, especially with the epic music that plays in the background. It is also very cool that Leon is in the middle while everyone else surrounds him. This is fitting not only because of the ranks, but also because Leon is the one everyone wants to defeat, and the cherry on top of this is that all the Masters 8, including Leon himself, then appear while shrouded in their respective color, behind the silhouette of Leon as he poses. This is a really cool moment that really sells what I said earlier, that in the end, everyone here is gunning for Leon. This is also just a really cool way to sum up the previous scene by quickly showing all 8 trainers. Now I love that Go cries while saying, "I am so happy to see this in person." As the camera pans around the Masters 8, the announcer says, "What a miraculous moment to see these 8 champions from far and wide gathered in one place. This is the true thrill of the Pokemon World Coronation Series." This moment and what the announcer says gave me chills. This is another epic moment. The announcer then says that in the Masters tournament, even the undefeated Monarch, competitor champion Leon, will be starting from the first round on equal footing with the other 7. The announcer then wonders if Leon can offer a few words. Like a total badass, Leon says, "Bring it on! Me and my Pokemon will take down any challengers." The announcer then says that it's time to reveal the matchups for the first round. The first match will be Leon versus Alain. Leon and Alain simply look at each other. Leon smiles, but Alain is serious. Meanwhile, Ash is like, "So Alain is up against Leon, huh?" The second match will be Lance versus Diantha. Lance and Diantha look at each other while smiling. And Lance bows, which is so classy, and it shows that Steven is not the only gentleman. The third match will be Cynthia versus Iris. Now I love that Iris is like, "Oh my, I am up against Cynthia." While Cynthia smiles and she says, "Go easy on me, okay?" Oh Cynthia, you are so cute. Of course, since Cynthia is, like I said earlier, modest and humble, it is very likely that she means what she says here. but it feels like Cynthia is being innocent and adorable by pretending like she isn't the one that has to go easy here. Also, I bet that Iris is hearing boss music right about now. So, the fourth match will be Steven versus Ash. Ash is like, so my first opponent is Steven, and he turns to Steven who says, so, I finally get a chance to battle you, showing that Steven wants to battle Ash and that he likely has wanted this for a while. In response, Ash smiles and nods confidently. With the first round matchups announced, the full tournament bracket is then shown on screen, showing how the tournament will progress past the first round. While hosting their show, Team Rocket says that they are pumped up for the tournament and that they cannot wait to see what Pokemon will be used. The episode then cuts to the locker room where the Masters 8, except Ash, Leon, and Alain, patiently await the start of the first match. Cynthia wonders where Ash is. Iris says that Ash said that he wanted to watch the tournament with Go, that he wanted to feel the heat of the stadium from up close. Diantha says that doing this is so Ash. Cynthia then wonders if Iris will not join Ash. Iris then adorably fidgets around, while blushing. She says that she wants to ask Cynthia and Diantha something. With sparkly eyes, Iris says that she wants to take a picture with Cynthia and Diantha. This is so cute. Cynthia says, oh, so that's it, while Diantha agrees to take a picture. The three of them then pose for their picture and they take a beautiful picture. This is also a historic picture, since they are the only female champions we have ever had. So it's quite amazing to see the three of them together like this. And honestly, this is for me one of the highlights of the episode. Meanwhile, Lance says to Steven, it sounds like you know that Alain well. Steven says, as the stones guide me. However, to face Leon right away, I just hope he does not get overwhelmed. Seriously though, Alain really did draw the short straw. The episode then cuts to the battlefield where the first match is about to begin. Leon and Alain make their entrance and they soon get ready to battle. Leon even removes his cape, showing that he is serious. Ash exclaims that watching from the stands really is the best. Hop and Go both agree. Now I do think that watching live from the stands is better than watching on TV, and I understand that watching with your friend is nice. But still, I think that it's disappointing that Ash gave up the opportunity to hang out with Cynthia, Steven, Lance, Diantha, and Iris. Iris is also Ash's friend, just like Go, and it's not every day that you get to talk and interact with so many amazing trainers. Therefore, it really is disappointing that Ash decided to watch from the stands, since this robs us of seeing Ash interact with so many cool characters. And it is honestly unbelievable that Ash gives up such an opportunity. The episode then cuts to Professor Sycamore's lab, where Professor Sycamore, his Garchomp, Mightyne, and Chespy are watching the tournament on TV. It is of course nice to see these characters again. The referee then enters the battlefield, and he announces the regulations for the first round. Each trainer can use 3 Pokemon. There is no limit on match length or switching out Pokemon. Whoever makes all 3 of their opponent's Pokemon unable to battle will be the winner. Additionally, trainers are only allowed a single use of only one of the following: Mega Evolution, C-Move, or Dynamax. Leon and Alain then send out their first Pokemon. Leon's first Pokemon is Rillaboom, while Alain's first Pokemon is Chestnut. So the first battle is between fully evolved Grass-type starters. Also, Leon and Alain both reveal a new Pokemon of theirs. Now Meowth continues to host the show by streaming the tournament. Meanwhile, Jessie says that she has seen the trainer with the fluffy neck thing somewhere before, while James says that they better check out this trainer's Pokemon. I see that someone forgot the X, Y, and the C series. So with both trainers and the Pokemon ready to go, the battle finally begins. Chestnut begins with Hammer Arm, which Rillaboom easily blocks. Leon then immediately withdraws Rillaboom in order to Gigantamax it. This shocks Ash, Go, and me, because I did not think that Leon would use Gigantamax so soon. Also, Rillaboom smiles right after blocking Hammer Arm. I wonder if Rillaboom smiles because it blocked Hammer Arm or because it knows what Leon is about to do. So Chestnut is soon faced with Gigantamax Rillaboom. I love that after Gigantamaxing, Rillaboom starts to drum really hard, which is cool. But what I love more is that Grookey imitates Rillaboom by hitting Go, who exclaims, "Hey, I am not a drum!" So Rillaboom's intense drumming pushes Chestnut back. Alain tells Chestnut to brace for attack, so Chestnut assumes a defensive stance, with its arms together to form a shield. Leon says that one of the duties of a champion is to get the crowd fired up, and he calls for Rillaboom's G-Max move, G-Max Drum Solo. Chestnut uses Spiky Shield to block the G-Max Drum Solo, though like Leon soon says, not even Spiky Shield can entirely block Dynamax moves. Alain says that they can still at least withstand them, which is what Chestnut is here for. Leon says, "How about this then? Max Airstream." But Chestnut uses Gyro Ball to travel along the Max Airstream harmlessly. Chestnut then lands a hit on Rillaboom with Gyro Ball. I have to say that this is quite the impressive attack from Chestnut. Leon says, "That was good," while Alain says, "Alright," while celebrating. Back in the locker room, Iris exclaims, "Amazing," while Lance says that Alain is doing quite well considering his opponent. But Diantha says that Alain should not let his guard down, since Max Airstream raised Rillaboom's speed. It is worth noting that right after Rillaboom is hit by Gyro Ball, you can see that Rillaboom is surrounded by the orange waves that indicate a stat boost in the games. This is a nice detail. So Chestnut then uses Pin Missile and Rillaboom counters with Max Quake, which blocks Pin Missile. Since this was Rillaboom's third max move, it returns to normal. Chestnut then uses Gyro Ball, but Rillaboom counters with Acrobatics, which allows Rillaboom to dodge Gyro Ball and to deliver a powerful super effective beatdown that defeats Chestnut. Also, it is worth noting that the speed boost it got from Max Airstream is likely what helped Rillaboom outmaneuver Chestnut. Now I have to say that I think that this was a very poor use of Gigantamax for two reasons. First, I cannot believe that Leon would use Gigantamax so prematurely. He literally used it immediately without really needing it and without gauging the strength of his opponent. Gigantamax/Dynamax is a limited resource, since you can only use it once, so it's meant to be a trump card. You should really only use it to turn the tide of the battle, or to push your advantage when you have momentum on your side, or as part of a specific strategy. You should really only use it when it is absolutely necessary. Therefore, it makes no sense, strategically, that Leon would use Gigantamax so early, especially when it is his best counter against his opponent's own ultimate technique/transformation. Surely Leon knows that Alain has access to Mega Evolution, so why wouldn't Leon save Gigantamax to counter Mega Evolution? This is what would make the most sense, which is why it's so weird that Leon would use Gigantamax so early. There is also the fact that surely Leon would save Gigantamax for his ace, Charizard. Also, they robbed us of seeing Gigantamax Charizard versus Mega Charizard X, which is very disappointing and a huge waste of potential. Second, Gigantamax was pretty much useless here. Rillaboom's first max move was partially blocked, and since it was a Grass-type move against a Grass-type Pokemon, it did not do a lot of damage. Rillaboom's second max move was completely avoided, and in fact, Chestnut used it to its advantage to land a hit on Rillaboom. Rillaboom's final max move was used to block an attack. Therefore, Gigantamax did nothing other than give Rillaboom a speed boost, and it did a very small amount of damage. Ultimately, Rillaboom defeated Chestnut after returning to normal, so it did not need Gigantamax to win. And sure, the speed boost helped, but still, I feel that Gigantamax did nothing for Rillaboom in the end. Therefore, I feel that this was a horrible use of Gigantamax, and it is likely that they just wanted an excuse to show Gigantamax Rillaboom in the anime for the first time, even if it did not make a lot of sense and even if it did not do much. So back in the locker room, Steven comments that Leon was a step ahead. Lance agrees, saying that it is surprising that Rillaboom knows acrobatics. Meanwhile, Iris is just shocked, and Myrene is as well. Alain then sends out his next Pokemon, which is Charizard. This surprised me since I figured that Charizard would be his final Pokemon. But considering that Alain is currently at a disadvantage and that Leon currently has a Grass-type Pokemon, using Charizard now is a sensible choice. I love that Pikachu screams in excitement when he sees Charizard. Ash explains that he and the Pikachu have battled Alain's Charizard many times before. Charizard then roars, and it puts on its serious face. Leon comments that Charizard has a good glare, and he says, "I will make you show me how strong you are." This is cool since Leon definitely knows what a strong Charizard looks like. So Rillaboom uses drum beating, but Charizard uses Flare Blitz to break through the drum beating, and it lands a direct hit on Rillaboom, who is knocked out. I love that the drumsticks fall first and then Rillaboom itself falls as well. Leon then sends out his second Pokemon, which is Charizard. This surprised me as well since I figured that Leon would save Charizard for last. But I guess that Leon wants to have a battle of Charizard, or he realizes that he needs his ace to defeat Alain's ace. So here it is, what we were all waiting for. Charizard versus Charizard. Leon's Charizard uses Air Slash, while Alain's Charizard uses Dragon Claw. Both Charizard charge each other, but Leon's Charizard avoids Dragon Claw and it pushes Alain's Charizard back with Air Slash. Alain decides to withdraw Charizard, since they cannot get close. Alain then sends out his third Pokemon, which is Malamar, another new Pokemon of his. Now this surprised me because I was expecting something more impressive. Also, Alain has a Tyranitar, which would be an awesome choice against a Charizard, who has a double weakness to rock. Now it's possible that Alain does not have Tyranitar with him, but if this is the case then Alain did not think ahead, since surely he knew that he could face Leon at some point, whose strongest Pokemon is Charizard, so why not bring his best weapon against the Charizard? Now Alain says to Malamar, "Your powers will turn the tide of the battle," which could not be farther from the truth. Malamar begins with Psycho Cut, which Charizard counters with Fire Blast. Both moves clash, which causes an explosion. Malamar then charges towards Charizard in order to use Throat Chop. Charizard counters with Air Slash. Malamar avoids the Air Slash and it goes for the attack, but Charizard manages to stop Malamar with its bare hands. Charizard then uses Fire Blast at close range, which looks very painful, and Malamar is knocked out. Not only was Malamar not a good choice for this battle, but it did not change the tide of the battle like Alain hoped, and Malamar was also defeated in a heartbeat. So Malamar was basically filler, making this a very underwhelming part of the battle. Now Alain does apologize to Malamar, saying, "I'm sorry, I could not give you a chance to shine." Yeah, Malamar did not get it to shine, but I don't think it was Alain's fault. So Alain then sends out Charizard again, while Leon decides to keep using Charizard. Alain says that it was his dream to battle against Leon's Charizard and to surpass it. Alain then Mega Evolves his Charizard. It is worth noting that at the end of the X, Y, and the Z series, Alain relinquished his Keystone and Mega Stone because they were given to him by Lysander. Alain then left on a journey to get his own Keystone and Mega Stone, so it's clear that his search was successful. So Mega Charizard X enters the battlefield. I love that Ash and the Pikachu are both very excited when they see Mega Charizard X. This is pretty much my reaction. Alain's Charizard begins with Dragon Claw, while Leon's Charizard counters with Ancient Power. But Alain's Charizard charges forth, shattering the rocks with Dragon Claw in the process, and it manages to uppercut Leon's Charizard. Alain's Charizard then uses Flare Blitz to rush towards Leon's Charizard, who is on its way down. But Leon's Charizard recovers and it uses Dragon Pulse to hit Alain's Charizard at close range, and Alain's Charizard is knocked out. Yes, it only took one Dragon Pulse to defeat Mega Charizard X. One Dragon Pulse. I seriously, honestly, could not believe what I was seeing. The very same Charizard that defeated 10 Mega Evolved Pokemon in a row, including one belonging to an Elite Four member. The same Charizard that evenly battled a Champions Mega Metagross. The same Charizard that held its own against legendary Pokemon. The same Charizard that was able to defeat Ash's Greninja several times. The same Charizard that we have only seen being defeated once before, even though it has battled so much. This very same insanely powerful and resilient Charizard was just taken out in one hit. This is absolutely ridiculous, utterly unbelievable, and honestly, very insulting. Alain and his Charizard were completely disgraced here, which is just horrible. Now I know that Mega Charizard X is weak to Dragon Pulse, but come on, one Dragon Pulse should not be enough to take down Mega Charizard X, especially not this Mega Charizard X, and especially when Dragon Pulse is used by a Pokemon that does not get stabbed from it. So this is just ludicrous and it makes absolutely no sense. And yeah, Leon is strong, sure. He is the unbeatable champion after all, and his Charizard is certainly very strong as well. But I don't think that they are strong enough to defeat a Mega Charizard in one hit. Also, it is worth noting that Alain's Charizard was also defeated with Dragon Pulse in the only other battle it has lost on screen, which was back when it battled Seabold's Mega Blastoise. But this was an intense battle where Charizard took a lot of damage. Plus, it was a Mega Launcher boosted Dragon Pulse, not just a normal, stabless Dragon Pulse. Also, while you can't compare both battles, it's clear that Dragon Pulse is a kryptonite to Alain's Charizard. I seriously cannot believe how badly Alain was humiliated here. Not only was his Charizard unbelievably wrecked with one move, but Malamar pretty much did nothing, and it was also defeated with one move. Chestnut was also basically defeated with one move as well. To make matters worse, Leon only had to use 2 Pokemon to defeat Alain, and Alain was only able to defeat one of Leon's Pokemon, and it was basically a free knockout, since Leon could and should have substituted Pokemon, since Rillaboom was at a huge disadvantage, and Leon did not really do anything special with Rillaboom to try to overcome their massive disadvantage. Alain was pretty much helpless against Leon, which is just terrible. Alain is a very strong trainer. The fact that he made it into the Masters 8 proves that he is capable enough, and yet he is defeated in such a disgraceful way that is just so insulting. This tarnishes Alain's legacy and it robs his return of meaning or impact, since he was just brought back to be humiliated. Also, the battle itself was not very good at all. There were way too many one-hit knockouts, which made the battle less intense and it ended way too fast. Gigantamaxing Rillaboom was unnecessary and a waste. Mega Charizard X was on screen for less than a minute and it was knocked out with one move. Leon did not use a third Pokemon, Alain was completely dishonored, and we were robbed of seeing a showdown between Mega Charizard X and Gigantamax Charizard, which would have been not only epic and an improvement over what we got, but it would have alleviated the main issue with this battle, since it would have been more believable to see Mega Charizard lose to one Max Wormwind. So yeah, this battle was just terrible. The fact that Rillaboom vs Chestnut was the best part speaks volumes, since the best part should have been Charizard vs Charizard. I went into this episode knowing that Alain would lose, but I did not think that he would lose this badly, and honestly, the writers should be ashamed of what they did here. I am sure that the true culprit is their desire to cram this battle and the opening ceremony into the same episode. In the past, the first episode of most of the League Conference arcs did not feature battles, only the opening ceremony. If they did feature battles, then they were usually insignificant or preliminary battles. The only exceptions to this are the Unova League, which is in my opinion the worst league, and, ironically, the Kalos League, which is in my opinion the most rushed league. These two exceptions show that it is not wise to cram important battles into the first episode of a tournament arc, since the first episode should be reserved for the opening ceremony. It should be reserved for the competitors to meet and or reunite with each other, for them to interact, talk, and banter, for the matchups to be revealed, for hype and anticipation to be built, for Ash to reminisce about his journey, for him to get motivated and fired up. The first episode should not have battles, especially not major battles. And this goes double for the Masters Tournament, since there are only 7 battles in it, between 8 major characters. So each battle deserved to have its own episode. Leon vs. Alain could have been so much better if it got 1 full episode instead of half an episode. And it angers me that to alleviate the issue, they decided to have the battle that gets the short end of the stick be between Leon and Alain, because it is easier when compared to the others to swallow that Leon could absolutely trash someone like this, since he is the unbeatable champion, and because the most believable target of this trashing is Alain, since he is the only one that is not a champion. With these justifications in mind, they went ahead with this mess of a battle which absolutely shattered the excitement built in the first half of the episode, and it started the Masters Tournament with a flop instead of a bang. Now yes, Alain was completely outmatched from the beginning. There was no way he could defeat Leon. But this does not mean that Alain had to be completely destroyed. They had the chance to have Alain be the first person that pushes Leon close to his limit. The first trainer that made Leon get truly serious. There was a chance here to have Alain show that the insurmountable wall that is Leon can be toppled. This would have made Alain's return impactful and meaningful, and a return worthy of his legacy. As someone who always strived for strength, he got the chance to battle the strongest trainer in the world. And while he lost, he did so after an intense battle and after showing that his quest for power has not been for naught, since he gave the strongest a run for his money. But unfortunately, this chance was squandered, and we instead got something quite awful. So, Leon is declared the winner and he advances to the semifinals as a result. Back in Kalos, Mayrin cries when she sees that Alain lost, and Professor Sycamore reassures her. Alain and Leon then shake hands. Alain says that he will retrain himself and he will return. Leon says, "Right, I will be waiting." Back in the locker room, Lance and Diantha stare at each other since they are up next. Diantha says, "Don't hold back on my account." Lance says, "I would ask the same of you." The episode ends with the two of them entering the battlefield and getting ready to battle. I can only hope that this battle will be much better than Leon versus Alain. So overall, this episode was just terrible. I absolutely hated it. First, they finally introduced Hop, only to turn him into an absolute joke. Then, they wasted the chance to have Ash interact with the rest of the Masters 8, which is such a huge shame. And then they give us a horrible, rushed, and nonsensical battle filled with wasted opportunities that ends in the disgrace of a great character that definitely deserved better, especially since he returned after a long absence. These three things destroyed this episode for me, and they ruined the start of the long-awaited Masters Tournament that I was so excited for. There were only two things that I enjoyed in this episode. The introduction of the Masters 8, which was very exciting, and seeing Iris take a picture with Cynthia and Diantha, which was beautiful and adorable. But as good as these two moments are, they cannot save this absolute train wreck of an episode. And I seriously hope that every other battle and episode of this tournament is leagues better than what we got with this episode. But that's the video. As always, Leave your own thoughts down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and would like to see more like it, then please consider subscribing to my channel. I love Pokemon and I love making videos on both the anime and the games. Also, please consider clicking the links on screen so that you can check out more videos like this right away. Thank you very much for watching, and let's meet again in the next video.